anybody that serves our country, especially in the Navy's SEAL, I mean, they're like the creme de la creme. He wrote a book about a very good friend of his named Ryan Job, and it's a warrior's faith, Navy SEAL, life-changing firefight, and the belief that transformed his life. Here's a guy who fought for our country. We're going to have Robert go into more detail about this hero, and then, went blind, and then had a mishap at a hospital and died. So it's you wonder sometimes, right? I mean, don't you wonder people doing great things for the country, the world, and they just get, they just get thrown a bad deck. Hey, Robert, welcome to the show, my friend. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, sir. Very much for having me today. I appreciate it.
No, you're so welcome. I mean, tell me about your relationship with Ryan. I mean, you say guys were friends, right? Well, and he was a sniper too, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, let me orientate your audience and tell a little bit about Ryan,
Please.
who he was, and how they may already know him. If you've seen the movie or read the book American Sniper, you'll know that Chris Kyle dedicated American Sniper, his book, to Ryan Job. And Ryan Biggles Job was the Navy SEAL who was with Chris Kyle on the roof in the scene when Ryan was actually shot. So Chris and Ryan were close friends. They served together on SEAL Team 3, and Chris was there with Ryan when he was shot. I met Ryan after all that happened. I'm not a Navy SEAL. I've never been in the military. Ryan and I just became friends. We were introduced by a mutual friend. And really, the story that I write is about our friendship, and it chronicles his life after being wounded until, really his passing here in 2009 in a hospital in Arizona. But what...
And he was wounded, so he was blinded, correct?
Yeah. For those who don't know the story, Ryan Job was on a rooftop in Ramadi, Iraq, on August 2nd, 2006, perhaps the most contentious time of the war in the most dangerous place in the world. Ramadi was the capital of death in the El Anbar province. It was the western edge of the Sunni Triangle. It's adjacent to, in geographical terms, adjacent to Syria. It was, the place where Sunnis were coming in to fight the Americans and their allies in Iraq. And, fast forward, 7 years from that period, Al-Qaeda in Iraq became ISIS, or ISIL, however you want to call them now. But nonetheless, the most contentious time in the war, Ryan's on a roof providing cover with Chris Kyle for the SEAL team working below. A shot rings out, and Ryan Job is shot in the face by an enemy sniper. Loses his eye. He's on the rooftop, bleeding out. Chris Kyle, literally knowing, what had happened, ran to Ryan, risked his own life ran to Ryan on that roof, turned him over, saw the wound, moved him to a safe spot, provided cover, and called the team up to help evacuate Ryan. So that's what happened to Ryan. He was rendered, he lost one eye, his right eye was completely gone, and he was rendered completely blind due to swelling in the head, which cut off blood flow to the orbital tract or orbital nerve and left him completely blind.
Okay, so you write about his story. Okay, so...
let me tell you a little bit about what Ryan did after this. Because that's, an incredible thing to survive, right? Being shot by a sniper in the face and surviving. Ryan came back. He married after he was blinded. He married his girlfriend, came back to Arizona where he enrolled in school full-time. His wife was enrolled in school full-time. I met him at that point. The first day I met Ryan Job, he said, "Hey, you know what? I've heard you've done these Ironman triathlons. I'd love to do one of those. And by the way, I have an opportunity to climb Mount Rainier. You want to train with me?" And I was thinking to myself, you got to be kidding me, right? This guy's completely blind. I said, yeah, let's have at it. Let's do it. So Ryan and I became friends from that point on. And Ryan Job, I remember reading the description of Mount Rainier to Ryan Job, that 3 people perish on the mountain each year trying to get to the top. It's 14,411 feet, the most glacially covered mountain in the lower 48. 50% of the able-bodied people who attempt to reach its summit don't make it. And Ryan Job just kind of laughed and said, yeah, but I'm going to be in the other 50%. And sure enough, July of 2008, Ryan Job summited, Mount Rainier. I mean, just an incredible feat for anybody, less a blind man.
So Were you there too or not?
I didn't go with him that year. We went the year afterwards. I didn't climb with him on Rainier. We trained together for Rainier here in Arizona. And Arizona is a valley, so we're surrounded by mountains. So him and I we'd wake up early and climb together here. 3-4 days a week we would do that. He was also enrolled in school, and he had a full-time internship. So Ryan was fairly busy all the time. I mean, he was just an incredible inspiration to me and to other people. I mean, one time he called me up and said, "Hey, can you take me to the airport?" So sure, gets in the car and asked him where he was headed, and he said he was going elk hunting in Idaho.
Yeah, tell me about that. How do you go elk hunting when you're blind? How do you do that? And who would want to go with a blind man with a rifle? I wouldn't want to go with a blind man and a rifle. No offense.
Yeah, no, I mentioned that to him.
Come on.
You don't want to tell the other hunters that you're blind, right? And
right. Hey, my buddy over here can't see anything, so just go with it, okay? I think it's so great. It's so cool that I don't know, it's just the coolest thing I've ever heard. Mount Rainier. I'm like speechless. Mount Rainier, what are you not? He figures what else can happen to me? I can survive anything. I don't know.
It was amazing. I've climbed Mount Rainier several times, and And at the very top, it's really steep, and it's layered with, it's just crevasses everywhere, which are, hundreds of feet deep. And it's really steep. The wind blows so hard up there that it'll blow you off your feet.
How long does it take to climb it? How long does it take you?
Well, I've done it a couple of times, and,
I'm just curious.
It takes a couple of days to climb it. Because you get to about 10,000 feet, and then you go from 10,000 to 14,000. But
right.
It's about a 2-day climb. It could be longer. The first time I went, I was stuck in a tent at 10,000 feet for, I think, 3 days because the wind was blowing so hard, a 70-mile-an-hour gust. You couldn't go up or down, so you just sort of hunker down in the tent. But nonetheless, I was near the top, probably 1,000 vertical feet from the top. And I decided that, just for fun, right, I'm going to close my eyes to see what Ryan experienced. And, it wasn't that much fun, right? Just had to open them up right away because you have no sense of where you are on the mountain and how close you take 3 or 4 steps and you think you've gone further. But, there's a crevasse you have to go around. So you really don't know where you are. You have a rope team that you're on and someone's kind of not really pulling you. You can feel a general direction, but you don't really know where it is. And also, what's incredible about this is that Ryan had 2 guys, one in the front and one behind him. These people attached their rope to Ryan Job. So if something happens, they're all going together. And they had confidence in Ryan to go to the summit. And I know the 2 guys personally, and they said Ryan was just an animal. He just attacked the hill. They never felt at one point that Ryan, wasn't capable of reaching the summit. And he literally humped a 70-pound pack, all the way up to 10,000 feet, and then took another pack up to the top and with no problem whatsoever. Just an absolute animal, and never complained. Never said he was tired. Never wanted to quit. Inspired everybody on the climb team to really get to the summit.
But he caught a bad break. What happened to him? What happened to him in the hospital?
Yeah, Ryan survived everything. He survived the Money Militia. He survived Al Qaeda. He survived, BUD training, SEAL training, and he went in for what was supposed to be routine surgery. Unfortunately, I don't think there's anything such as a routine surgery. And he made it through two surgical procedures to insert a blood vessel into his head to increase blood flow to an area where he had been wounded. And second operation went well. First operation was okay. They had to redo it. He was in recovery. I had spoken to him the evening before. The next day, I got a call from his wife, and she was hysterical. And I drove over and got her, went to the hospital. Ryan's mom happened to be in town, and we arrived at the hospital, and the staff was outside waiting for us. And right then I knew Ryan Job was dead. And we later came to find out after, a legal case that, what they initially told us in the hospital was not accurate, and Ryan Job died of a drug overdose administered by the hospital staff at the hospital.
Oh, gee. And what did they say it was?
I cover this in the book. They first, tried to blame it on Ryan. And, I knew that wasn't true, and I called my attorney that, in the hospital, and I said, look, you don't have to be clairvoyant about this one, right? I spoke with Ryan last night. He was good to go. Before he went, we were training for Ironman, an Ironman triathlon.
Oh, like that he took the drug overdose, so it was his fault? Is that what you mean?
No, they administered an overdose to him, and they tried to...
No, but you said they blamed Ryan. You said they blamed Ryan.
They said that he ingested and aspirated.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah, they said that their initial story was that Ryan aspirated on chewing tobacco.
I got you.
Which was completely false, and later came to find out that Ryan Job succumbed to a hospital-administered overdose.
And when so you said, so was there a court case? Is it over? I mean, when did this happen?
Yeah, so there was a court case. Ryan's next of kin filed suit. It was settled out of court in 2011, and there was a settlement. So it never went to trial. There was a settlement prior to trial.
God, and how old was he?
28 years old.
Jeez.
Yeah, and that's really, as long as we're talking about it, I'll tell you sort of the worst part for me. So I'm walking into the hospital with Ryan's now widow and his mom, and nobody knows that his widow is pregnant with their first child.
Oy.
So this is a story about, inspiration of how Ryan Job lived beyond the grave, but it's also a story about what happens to our warriors when they come home.
No, there's no question about it.
Chris Kyle's story is reminiscent of
and how apropos. With Chris Kyle. It is so tragic because it just also real quickly just to mention, it also kind of reminds me of the death of Bob Simon, when all from 60 Minutes, when all over the world could have been killed numerous times, and he gets killed in a car accident a mile or two from the station. Of course, that could happen to anyone. Here's your guy, your buddy, who survived Mount Rainier, a sniper, Al-Qaeda, the worst attack ever, yada, 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 and he goes out because somebody screwed up. Chris Kyle, the same thing. Goes to a gun range, is several times he's been knocked off in Iraq. It's just, and Patton. All those, it's so ironic. Our heroes die in the strangest ways that you never would think. It's just very, very strange to me. And it's sad.
It's really, obviously, could have happened, I guess, to anybody.
I know, but everyone thinks that because the man, was a Mount Rainier and he did his thing and he survived Iraq and he came back. Hey, Robert, we got to let you run. Thanks so much for coming on. I hope you sell a whole ton of books. awarriorsfaith.com, Twitter @awarriorsfaith. Robert Vera, author and entrepreneur, a Warriors Faith Navy SEAL Ryan Job, a life-changing firefight and belief that transformed his life. More to come with the Pinker. Don't go away.